Yeah, I'm about to pull them up. We're live. And boys, as we go live, first thing tonight, as we let the viewers file in, but yeah, we are live. So yeah, I'll wait a second to do this to see if some people file in, but yeah, we definitely got some hoops to talk about.
Yeah, I mean today was definitely I wouldn't say it was super chaotic, but there were some chaotic games for sure. But there's one in particular, one or two in particular. We're gonna
start.
Today
talk
was
about
chaotic. Today was the worst. I hated it.
Let's start off with one in particular. If you boys don't know, we have a funeral to attend, and I'm all dressed up for it. But we are paying our condolences today to the season of the great Kentucky Wildcats. And as you can see, I'm wearing my Sunday's best, my nice sweater. I had to make sure I show up to my biggest hater's funeral so I can make sure he's dead. John Calipari, fuck you, first off. I'll be a little more professional coming out of this. But, yeah, if you missed Coach Cal's comments last week, he said the SEC tournament doesn't matter, and there's only one tournament that matters to him. Well, unfortunately, Coach Cal has suffered another first weekend exit in that tournament. So, yeah, as we get this started, if you boys don't mind, we are going to hold a moment of silence for Coach Cal for the Kentucky Wildcat season. Talked all that shit.
cheating doesn't pay off in the end.
Best coach ever, some say. He's supposed to be great. Best recruiting classes every year.
The best NBA talent and has only one title to show for it.
Here we are on the first weekend again. Coach Cal and the boys have been eliminated.
This is not nearly the appropriate response for such a result. I am driving in my car to relax and calm down because I can't focus on anything in my life besides, that kind of shit. And I don't understand. I truly, like, of all the 14-3 games, that was the one I was most confident in.
All right.
There was no way. It should have been enough. It should have been enough to win, but it wasn't, and I'm at a loss. I don't know what to say.
Moment of silence over. Condolences to Cal and Big Blue Nation. As you can see on Twitter and the message boards, they are handling it well, as they always do. They always have class. So condolences to Coach Cal and the boys. Let me change out of the stupid sweater real quick, and let's start with that game.
Yeah.
Coach Cal and the boys. Yeah, I don't know how much of that I'm willing to put. I mean, I don't know. He shares most of the blame, but that was shit from Reed Shepherd. They couldn't. I mean, DJ Wagner was a zero, a literal zero. Contributed nothing. I feel. I do not know if I will recover from that game. I don't know. I'm at a loss. I mean, first of all, Oakland stinks. Oakland is bad. Like, I understand they take and make a lot of threes, but they are bad. They are not a good basketball team. They are bad. Their coach annoys the shit out of me. Great guy, I'm sure. Great coach, but like
40 years?
Yeah. Great Camp is a legend, man.
What is the Jim Tressel of basketball? Take off your sweater vest and let's, like...
You got Hendrick, Nunn, and Kay Felder at Oakland, so... He's built that.
I am just... Yeah. So, I thought this was a year that Cal would get them over the hump in the 2020s. I thought they had the team for it. They had the best backcourt in the tournament by a pretty comfortable margin, I would say. Like, Shepherd and Dill and Reeves and DJ. That no one can do better than that in the sport, and they lose. And like, yeah, I get it. Oakland's making a lot of threes. Then get your 5-star athletic wings and guards to defend the perimeter. Do something. Defend. They can't do that either. There's no commitment to defense. At some point in the tournament, to win a title, you have to win one game where you probably have to like muck it up a ton, and they are not willing to do that. They're not actually willing to defend. The best Cal teams, the team that won the title, the team that went to the Final Four the year before that, the 2015 team, obviously, those teams, they defended pretty well. They made their money defending, rebounding really well. They don't do that now, and they have some serious big picture issues over there where they can't. I mean, Cal can't leave. I don't know what they're gonna do. Dan Hurley's not gonna leave UConn to go to Kentucky. Like they're kind of cooked. So
well, they're gonna have
some
they're gonna have
issues on their hands.
I mean, they're gonna have to Epstein him. That might be like the only way they can get him out. So.
It's the result of recruiting all these one and dones and not having an actual program identity for so long. Because in March, you can't rely on freshman guards. I mean, Dellingham and Shepard may be NBA stars, but like future NBA stars, but like
they won't. But.
In the tournament, you can't rely on that. The lights were too bright for Reed Shepard, especially Reed Shepard.
Yeah, he stunk.
He had a horrible game, man. I just texted or I thought about get those lights off whenever I saw him just brick like 2 or 3 wide open threes.
Which is shocking because he was their best guy down the stretch of the season. I mean, he had that huge game at Tennessee. I mean, he was a good road player. And then, who knew? PPG Paints Arena brings it out of him. So, that's,
I said on Sunday that, like, this bracket was open for Kentucky. And, like, there was certainly, I mean, NC State just beat Texas Tech and just knocked another strong team out of that bracket. And at first, I mean, I said on the stream on Sunday that I was taking Texas Tech over Kentucky, and I actually changed that and put Kentucky over in my Final Four. And I don't know what stupid thing came over my brain to think that was a good idea because that clearly didn't work out. And it's unacceptable. And whether you want to put it on Cal, whether you want to put it on the players, when you show up with a roster like this every year, when you continuously act as arrogant as a program as they do every year, the shit Cal says himself, the shit the fans say, the shit, everything surrounding that program is arrogance. This is a championship program. We're elite. We're a blue. And they don't do it. They do this every fucking time. It's the same shit. It was St. Peter's 2 years ago. They shit themselves against Kansas State with the bracket wide open last year. They lose to Oakland today in Greg Campy in his 40th year. That's the first March Madness win. I believe so. Maybe not. No, it's been a long time. It's a joke. And I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And I'm an idiot too. I bought into it. They started to look better on defense at the end of the regular season. I thought they looked good going into March. They came into Auburn and whooped our ass. Definitely ran their mouths after that. And now look, you get knocked. You get sent home by Oakland. Night one tournament.
I just wanted to say shout out Jack Goki for an amazing game.
10 3-points is
absolute insane performance. That was like that Fletcher McGee. He kind of reminded a lot of people of Fletcher McGee from Wofford.
Yes, and they played that Kentucky team that year, and Kentucky strapped in and beat Wofford.
Yeah,
because they had minimum some desire to defend.
Worst game of his career.
But it all goes back to Cal. Like you can't go around like touting this guy as one of the best coaches in the nation, one of the best coaches of all time, and look at all the talent he's pulled into Kentucky. He is an all-time recruiter. I will never take that away from him. But when you continuously bring in this talent, like Jacob said, you don't have a culture as a program because you're just replenishing the roster every year. Well, you have this talent, and he has one national championship at Kentucky with Anthony Davis to show for it. It's a joke. It's unacceptable. And you you have to acknowledge, and Matt, me and you have had these debates over the years about Cal endlessly. And I think you're starting to come. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like you're starting to come around, and it's unacceptable as a program. And Kentucky fans, we have our jokes about them. They're mostly morons. It's a dumb fan base and a dumb state. A lot of dumb people associated with them, but they're probably rightfully upset about this. Not probably, they are.
They will be pissed off tomorrow. I'm driving through Kentucky tomorrow. It's going to be. I'm wonder if I see any pissed off.
I will have Kentucky sports radio turned on my phone tomorrow at work and be laughing my ass off.
I feel sorry for the radio.
When you're talking about the identity, that is the identity of their program, is the one and done thing. And they had it rolling for a few years, and then Coach K kind of co-opted it himself. But that is the identity, and they're going to try and run it back the same way next year. They're probably going to start to hit. I would say they're probably going to start to hit portal harder than they had before. But yeah, I mean, Cal can coach. I mean, the guy's taken 3 schools to the Final Four. He took UMass to the Final Four. Got Memphis to within a Derrick Rose free throw of the national championship. He can coach, but I mean, there are parts of the sport that he has yet to really fully commit to and adapt to. And one of those things really is, I mean, developing good defensive habits amongst his teams for starters. Rarely that's something they've done in the last few years. It's just one of those things that unless they have the size inside to do it, because they did a good job when they had Towns and Davis, Julius Randle, that team was good. Those teams were kind of driven from inside out. Now they don't really have that now. This is a completely guard-driven team. So, I don't know. None of them defend. Reed Shepherd might have a really good NBA career, but I don't know who the hell he's going to guard in the NBA. I don't know how that's going to work. But, yeah, I mean, for Cal, they've got to get bigger. They probably just need to go back to their roots of just, crashing the boards like crazy.
They were big. They had Oscar Tshiebwe dominating the SEC for 4 years and had nothing to show for it.
Sure, but Tshiebwe is not Anthony Davis or Karl Anthony Towns or Julius Randle.
But he was Zach Edey. He was Zach Edey. He was that level.
Well, yeah, they're just different kinds of players. And still, when they had Tshiebwe, they did not play the same kind of style basketball that they were playing in those years. And it's different now. I mean, I respect I do truly think that this year, especially down the stretch of the season, he thought that he was getting the most out of what he could of that group. They're not great individual defenders necessarily, so this is what we're gonna do. We're just gonna try and, score 90 and hope the other team, only scores 80 kind of thing. But there's no reason they could not have put Justin Edwards on whoever the hell Oakland is trotting out to take, multiple threes a game or whoever. That's someone who should be taking the other team's best player out of a game. And, it's just, they're not doing it. And it's kind of lazy on Cal's part. So they're going to have to seriously reevaluate how they, they need an identity from year to year, but definitely they need to kind of go back to their roots of what got them there in the first place. And that was not something they did this year. It should have been enough, this year's team, to get through Oakland minimum. But yeah, I mean, there's not much you can say now.
This year for Kentucky was a team we heard for the last 2 years about this recruiting class and this group they were putting together. And I am really sweating out this Samford +7 right now.
Yeah, but they brought it back, man.
But yeah, this was a group we heard about for Kentucky for years. That this was the year. This was when they were supposed to put it all together. And yeah, they had their defensive struggles, and I gave them credit. I said at the end of the regular season they looked better on defense. They did. They looked like they made improvements throughout the year. And then, like, you get to the postseason, they go one and done in the SEC tournament, and Cal just dismisses that. It's like, I don't care about the SEC tournament, stupid. I care about one. They go one and done there. He comes to the NCAA tournament and gets knocked out by Oakland. It's a joke. It's a joke. They are the most consistently underperforming program year after year after year after year.
Yeah, I think that's open for debate, but yeah, I mean, the last 3 to 5-ish years, it's not been good enough. They just simply need to seriously look inward with how they, one, prepare for some of these games. I don't know if they didn't scout Oakland or any. I don't know what went into that. That's all Oakland does, is they just take a shit ton of threes. Like, I don't know how you're not better prepared to defend that.
I just think it's a mental thing, because like once your freshman guards, once they get all tight, and like once Oakland hits those shots and they, get to the end of the game, you just get tight. It's a veteran player wouldn't be as rattled, but when you're a freshman, NBA player or not, you're just gonna have those moments, and you're gonna have to play through them. That's
All
what.
right.
Yeah, it's frustrating because they've won with those players before. They've won with freshmen. I mean, but still, I mean, they've been in those situations, and it's frustrating that they can't figure it out. They can win at Tennessee, at Auburn on the road, but they can't win on a neutral floor against Oakland. That is, I don't know. That's a bigger picture issue, but who knows? They've got a significant amount of work to do, especially in the X's and O's department going forward. With their defense alone needs a complete overhaul. Just either how they teach it or how their schemes are non-existent. Basically, they just are very lazy defensively, and they have been for the last few years now. But yeah, they need to really lock in on that end and start really putting more commitment on the defensive end of the floor, because ultimately that's what costs them. You can't, you let a guy make 10 threes by himself, like, outrageous.
All right. We can talk about Kentucky at nauseum, I'm sure, but I will, for the sake of things, I'll try to put a bow on Kentucky here so we can start rounding through these games, so we're not here till 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah,
talking.
I gotta get some sleep.
But yeah, definitely that's the upset of the day, and yeah, Big Blue Nation is not well. So yeah, you guys got anything else on Kentucky, or if not, I'm just gonna go back to the start of the day. I'm scrolling through the games on my TV here. I'll just start reading off the scores. We can hit on a game and then move on to the next one. But you guys got anything else to add on Kentucky?
Just props to Oakland. They played an excellent game plan against. They exploited Kentucky's weaknesses, and that's what a good Cinderella does in March: exploit the weaknesses and hit all the shots they need to.
I'm seriously outraged. I mean, Oakland is going to probably get beat by 15 against NC State, and I'm going to be pissed. But yes, continue.
Yeah, Jack Golke, 32, I believe, 10 3-pointers, which is insane. I don't know what the record for most 3-pointers in a March Madness game is. I don't have that off the top of my head.
I think it's 11. He was like one away from tying the record.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's go back to the start of the day, and let's start hitting through these games so we don't talk about Kentucky all night. And Samford is going to make me blow a gasket here. Come on, there we go. Yeah, I just want this cover very bad.
It'd be nice. Anyway, somehow found a way to win on a miracle.
Okay. All right. Michigan State 69, Mississippi State 51. Tom Izzo gets it done in March again. I didn't mention it on the show on Sunday, but I thought Michigan State, with 14 losses in the regular season, getting a 9, kind of insane. but nevertheless, they get it done. Good day for the Big Ten, much
Yeah,
to
it
your
really was.
but good day for the Big Ten, and that's a bad day for the SEC. And this kind of set the theme for the whole day. So defensive battle, as we thought. Definitely Mississippi State struggled on offense, but yeah, 69-51 Michigan State. This game was never really in doubt. So yeah, you Matt, Jacob, I don't know which one of you wants to lead off on that one, but we'll start there.
I can sort of speak to it. Just like coming into the tournament, I wasn't expecting much from Michigan State. I mean, they had underperformed with the talent they had. Coming into the year, they were the Big Ten favorites, one of the Big Ten favorites. And with Tyson Walker and picking up Xavier Booker, who's the number 2 recruit, I believe, in the nation. But they've sort of put it together here recently, sort of playing a little bit better. But I think Mississippi State just completely folded today. Gave in to what Michigan State was going to do, and I think that's because Izzo is a good, Hall of Fame coach for a reason, and he can take pieces that aren't as good and get a couple wins in the tournament.
Look at that. We got a ticker now?
Yeah, we are getting professional.
Wow. Yeah,
well
Michigan
said,
State was really dialed in. That was an impressive that's just how it is with them. You expect that. And I mean, they were really locked in and dialed in. They had it going. Just defensively, everything was organized.
They've been a 7 seed or lower in 4 straight tournaments now. And they got to a Sweet 16 last year and had that amazing game against Marquise Noel in Kansas State and fell a little short there. But, yeah, I mean, credit to Izzo. And, I mean, they're going to give North Carolina hell. Like I said, we'll get to recapping specific, or I guess previewing games another time. But, yeah. Sorry, Matt, if I kind of cut you off there. I didn't know if you had anything else to add there.
Oh man, that was an impressive one. You rarely see Mississippi State get bullied or bodied around, and they kind of did today. So I'm impressed. I mean, I expected that to be much closer. I thought Mississippi State was honestly a better team than Michigan State going in. But I mean, Mississippi State wasn't great in the SEC in conference play, and I mean that was one of the more, that was probably the most impressive performance by a team I saw today. That Michigan State just top to bottom defensively really organized, just starting that game immediately hot. Just nailing most of their threes to start. And after that, I'm like, well, that's it. There goes that game. You can pencil them in the second round.
Yeah.
So.
Well, under hitting that one, so that was good. But
yeah, that was an easy call.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, let's keep it moving. We had Duquesne 71, BYU 67. So that was our first upset of the day. I don't think a lot of people had that one.
I didn't pick Duquesne just because they weren't in the A10. They weren't really one of the big dogs of the A10. They just kind of flew under the radar.
And this was a weird seeding matchup too, because Duquesne was clearly overseeded as an 11. Like they did not have an 11 seed resume.
Yeah.
The committee just got lazy and gave the 11 to whoever was going to win that 10 clearly. And BYU was supposed to be a 5 seed, but because they don't play on Sundays, they got bumped down to a 6 seed, which is crazy in and of itself. So a matchup that wasn't even really supposed to happen when you look at all that. But Duquesne really led wire to wire, controlled that game. Of course, it was all LeBron. LeBron took credit for that. So, yeah, congrats to LeBron.
LeBron's high school coach picking up the W.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's that was terrible. I was big on BYU going into that game. I've not been big on BYU throughout the season, but of course, I was like, you know what? That's a really good draw. That's a great draw. Duquesne stinks. They have not looked great until the last couple weeks of the season, really, in the A-10 tournament. And that was a joke for BYU, to be completely honest. I was expecting way more.
Duquesne led that thing wire to wire. That's what was so impressive about him. Like, Duquesne could hold that entire game.
Well, yeah, and Duquesne kind of just exposed BYU physically. They were really beating the shit out of them physically. They were diving after every loose ball first. They were just playing them really tough, and it kind of was one of those things like, we're going to push the envelope as far as these refs are going to let us push it, and they pushed it just far enough where it clearly was working in their favor. There were times where BYU, they just looked out of sorts the entire game. Their rotations were poor. Everything about what they were doing made no sense. Just offensively, and that's just not. I mean, technically, yeah, that's not a team I would expect that from. Their players are old. They're experienced. They just lack like any toughness and grit. But offensively, I thought they were going to be enough to get by Duquesne, of all teams. But yeah, I think Mark Polk probably had the worst coach game of the day. That was probably the worst coach game I'd seen. He was pretty bad.
Other than Cal?
Yeah, I thought he was worse. I thought in the case of, a guy hit 10 threes for Oakland. Like, Duquesne did not necessarily play out of their minds. They were, they just kind of imposed their style on BYU, and it worked. And they were better. They looked better. They, as you said, they led for basically the entire game. They were the better team. I don't think they are better than BYU, but yeah, I mean, today they were better than they were, and it's frustrating because I think Illinois is going to crush Duquesne, but
they smoke Duquesne.
Yeah, they're going to crush them. Shannon's going to have like 35 points, so yeah, that's frustrating on that end, and I just kind of expected better from BYU. I mean, playing in the Big 12, you just kind of expect them to hold up a little better than that, or not completely crumble when you're met with that kind of, physical basketball, and they didn't. They just, completely wilted under it, and they just submitted to Duquesne, of all teams, who should not have been anywhere near the field. So that's
the magic of March, man.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it works.
Yeah, so credit to LeBron for them winning that one. Wouldn't have happened if LeBron didn't give them some shoes and tweet about them. So that was all LeBron right there. It is the funniest. I said this to you when we were FaceTiming earlier, Matt. The broadcaster's like, "Can you believe LeBron's playing and his high school coach is retiring?"
Yeah, what the fuck are we doing? What does that mean? Like, Kyle Anderson's still playing basketball, and Bob Hurley's retired. What is that? Who cares? Like,
oh my God, dude. But I said for BYU all year that, oh my God, are you guys watching Stanford, Kansas?
This game's gone, last game of the night, and it's gone absolutely wild out of nowhere.
I said all year BYU was the computer tricker of the year. Like, when the first net rankings came out and BYU was ranked first, I thought that was a fucking joke. And, I mean, they stayed up there in every ranking you look at all year. And they were never that level of team. They could not play away. They had that one. They won in Fog Allen, and that was an impressive win. But,
yeah,
I mean,
that was the only away game they showed up for.
Yeah. Other than that,
they played okay at Iowa State. They were okay there.
All ball. That's not.
Aside from that,
that's not a foul. Sorry, I'm talking about the Stanford game.
Jacob, what do you think about BYU Duquesne?
I I just think, it's just a team folding under pressure. Like BYU got all their weaknesses exposed. Duquesne was prepared, played good defense, and out hustled. I'd say they out hustled BYU, which should not happen to a Big 12 team. And I didn't see it coming because, obviously their seeding wasn't great. They're under the radar in the A10. They weren't like a Dayton or somebody
they're
like
seeding
they were
for where because they shouldn't have been an 11 seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off there, but
just sort of all the weird conference tournaments. I think that's why they ended up being on 11.
All right. Creighton 77, Akron 60. Akron made this a game for a while.
For a little bit.
They led most of the first half. Creighton made a run and went up by 5 at halftime, and then they cruised in the second half. So was never really in doubt most of the second half. I thought Akron would cover that number. Gross was 6-0 against the spread in his last 6 games in the NCAA tournament. So I thought Akron 12.5 was a pretty good number there, and they would be able to keep this one competitive. But they were not. Creighton had the shot start falling in the second half, and they move on and beat Akron, Akron was the team I thought was a pretty good team all year. And I thought they were just a bad matchup for them, though. If they got a better draw, they probably could have been a contender to pull off an upset there here in March. But
Creighton's just one of those teams that's built for March. Like, it's hard to upset a team like that. It's good at all positions.
They are. I mean, Akron got that's a pretty good-ish draw for Akron, all things considered. They had a really good first half. I mean, they played really well. They returned 4 guys from their team a couple of years ago who had a good tournament showing. But yeah, ultimately, that's just probably. I mean, that was a relatively local game for Creighton or Akron also. They got a good draw for that, but yeah, they just offensively, it just wasn't there
that's it
for Akron. Creighton just, they're a machine when they're hitting shots, and yeah, not much time needs to be spent on that one, but yeah, that one was a game that I never, despite the first half for Akron, I never really felt like, Creighton's not gonna win this game by 8 to 10 points, but good second half for them.
All right, these next 2 should be pretty quick. A team we spent entirely too much fucking time talking about on Sunday was Long Beach State. And they got their fucking doors blown off. So, I mean, they were a little scrappy in the first half, as happens with a lot of these games with lower-seeded teams and all. But ultimately, Arizona took control and was able to pull away. Arizona 85, Long Beach State 65. We're going to do a little bit more Long Beach State talk because there's 2 things I wanted to bring up about the whole situation with the coach getting fired. So, number one, that AD is just a fucking moron. Did you guys see the AD?
I saw what he says. What
we fired him on purpose because we knew it would motivate the team.
That's such a Long Beach thing to say. Like, that's such like a West Coast philosophy on firing a coach.
That makes no sense. Yeah, I would assume if you were doing that to motivate your team, I mean, what do you do if you win then? Do you continue, with that guy? What if Long Beach State won the national championship, hypothetically, in this weird world here? What did it? Do they keep him? Or are they just well, thank you for the motivation, but we'll see you later. Thank you.
That's the second thing I wanted to bring up. So I was watching on the March Madness app, and I was watching the whip around red zone thing, whatever they call it, and they had it would cut back to the studio, and one of the guys in the studio there, it was Passner and a couple other guys. One of them's like they were like, oh, hopefully he gets another job, and one of them just casually spills the beans, like, oh, he's getting the Pacific job.
Good luck with that job.
Yeah, but just like to spill the beans on it like that, for it to come out that way, I just thought was hilarious.
Goodness, yeah, that's one way to have your your dirty laundry aired. But yeah, good luck in Pacific. Holy smokes, he's got his hands full with that job.
Yeah, good luck to them. They were down. What was it, like?
Yeah, 52? Goodness, yeah, they were getting smoked
by Pepperdine.
That was the weirdest blowout ever because like both coaches had their coaches fired, and
yeah, that did not motivate Pacific clearly. So
yeah, just
different motivational tactics.
The way that news came out there, he's just like so nonchalant. Oh, he's getting the Pacific job, like it's like a done deal.
Yeah.
I was just like, what? Okay. Like, so I guess, can you even say, if you go to Pacific, can you say landed on his feet? Is that an acceptable thing to say about that? Or
I mean, yes, objectively, that's a much better conference. The Big West. It's a better league. Damon Stoudemire was actually doing pretty well when he was a coach there, so it's not like impossible to win games at Pacific, but yeah, that's there's your Big West West Coast Conference update. But
all right, so yeah, we once again spent entirely too much time talking about Long Beach State, but shout out to them, the Dirtbags. I will, even though that's their baseball team, I will continue to call them the Dirtbags. But yeah, Arizona took care of business. Arizona's going to be up in this. Caleb Love was not. I think he was like their third or fourth leading scorer in this game, which is a testament to the depth they have going there. So Arizona's going to be a tough out. They're going to be strong this tournament. I mean, do you guys have anything to add on that game? Because if you do, I'd be impressed. But
no, it was a good showing for Arizona. Yeah. Finally, they got over the hump of the 15 seed in the first round. But yeah, this should be. I mean, it's a good spot for Arizona to be in. They have, really kind of if they're able to score 70 points on Dayton, they're probably going to beat them. Or if they're able to play that game at their speed, that should be a game that they do pretty well with. So should be Arizona's Sweet 16, but we'll see.
All right, North Carolina 90, Wagner 62. Who gives a fuck? Shout out for
Wagner actually hung around early in the game. Like, shout out to them for having like only 7 players on their bench and hanging out with the 1 seed for a little bit.
And shout out to UNC for the cover. That's a rare cover in the NCAA tournament. That many points sometimes, but well done by them.
26 and a half was the number, something like that. Yeah, they did. Like Jacob said, they only had 7 players on their team, so that was an impressive run for Wagner to get to this point. And yeah, I guess those guys for the rest of their lives can say they played in the NCAA tournament and got fucking steamrolled by North Carolina.
I mean, at least they put up 67 points. Virginia couldn't even do that.
Fair point. Yeah, this isn't I guess we're not going to talk about the first 4. There's no point because both of those teams are out now, but or one of them is, I should say. Both of them, I'm saying both of them that played on Tuesday, but yeah, Virginia stinks. We were right about Virginia on this show. Matt, you got anything on North Carolina 90, Wagner 62?
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup for North Carolina, Michigan State. I don't think that's a great matchup for Michigan State necessarily, but that would be the most Michigan State thing in the world to just pick off North Carolina that way after they looking pretty steady in their first game there. But yeah, that would be the most Michigan State thing ever. But not the best matchup. But I fully anticipate that game being obnoxiously close for no reason other than Michigan State just being comfortable, just hanging around in those games. So
I think, yeah, and UNC plays bad against bad teams. Like the Georgia Tech loss early in the year. It's just like of the 1 seeds, UNC like plays the most down to their competition, I'd say.
yeah.
So if Michigan State makes it a dogfight, it will be a dogfight.
All right. Illinois 85, Morehead State 69. Matt, you mentioned shout out to the cover for North Carolina. Shout out to Illinois for the cover as well. I had them -11, and they were able to take care of business there despite Morehead State hanging around in the first half. But Illinois, they took care of business in this game. They rolled Dane Danger, might become one of the folk heroes of March. Exclusively because of the name from people who haven't been watching all year. Probably saw a guy named Dane Danger, and that probably became instantly a lot of people's favorite player. Illinois, they're going to play fucking Duquesne now, so they should be fine. But as they get further on in this tournament, they have, if Terrence Shannon Jr. isn't going, they're fucked. Like,
yeah, if he wasn't going off absolutely on fire in the first half, Morehead State may have ran away with this game. Like watching it early, like it was a game even into the second half. Like Morehead State just let Illinois go on a run and then could never get back in. It just kind of fell apart after that.
They were defending Shannon well in the first half, and it just made me think, like, how the fuck did this team play basketball when he was suspended? Like, I couldn't get that on.
Without him, it's just Coleman Hawkins, and I mean, Mark Domasek's good, but Coleman Hawkins just implodes and then causes chaos, and it's just like how they just play ugly basketball without him, without Terrence Shannon Jr., who I will not be rooting for in March. I'll say that much.
I will not either.
No, but yeah, that annoyed me because that's exactly how Kentucky should have been, where it's like, well, Morehead State might be decent, but eventually Illinois just has too much offensively for Morehead State to keep up, and ultimately that was the case. But yeah, I mean Morehead State's a nice team, but ultimately, yeah, that's just the Illinois way. They're just going to outscore those kinds of teams, and Shannon is a nightmare to defend. It's a shame because I would have really enjoyed Illinois BYU. That would have been a fun game. But yeah, unfortunately now it's the Shannon show again against Duquesne probably, and he's going to take 15 free throws or something else, and that'll just be a game that Illinois probably wins by 8 or something, and that'll be that. And Illinois's got another free-ish road. But yeah, I still don't have the highest expectations for that team going in here and going forward. Just the whole Big Ten tournament bump, I was not sure of necessarily, especially because they have dominated that series against Wisconsin head-to-head. They crushed them, not really crushed them in the final, but they do not lose against that team. So they kind of didn't necessarily get off scot-free in Big Ten tournament, but I just wasn't really sure. And that's a team that has no commitment to defense either. And, they have offense after Shannon, but it's not, as potent necessarily. So, yeah, frustrating for Morehead State, but the better team won. They were better. Illinois is better. We avoid a potential Morehead State Duquesne game. Don't know how I would have blasted the under if that game were to take place. But yeah, ultimately sets up nicely for Illinois going forward. They should manhandle Duquesne. They probably like their chances against either, Iowa State or Drake here. So
there was a funny exchange on commentary I wanted to bring up during this game where Illinois got a rebound and was going on a fast break, and Morehead State had a player injured, and the refs blew the play dead. And Brad Underwood was just being a fucking lunatic like he usually is, and was like yelling at refs. And the lead commentator is like, "Oh, he's telling the refs that was a great call." And then like the other announcer didn't sense the sarcasm there at all, and was like, "That's really classy by Brad Underwood." Like, I'm really glad he did that. I don't know if you guys picked up on the change too, but like, dude just did not sense the sarcasm there at all.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Brad Underwood. I will say that. Also, shout out on Morehead State. Shout out Riley Minks and Latham.
Yeah, Minks is a stud. He is a really fucking good player. Yeah, he's awesome.
I know when Purdue played them, they were probably the best mid-major Purdue played this year. Out of even with playing Stanford, I'd say.
Yeah, they didn't lose by 50. So
yeah.
All right, that's enough time on that game. This one was, if you were betting today, which I know I was, I know Matt was, this was the easiest bet of the day. Was Oregon, was it plus 1.5 or minus 1.5, either way, against South Carolina, and Oregon dominated this game from start to finish. Oregon 87, South Carolina 73. I told you earlier, Matt, when we were talking, and say the same thing now. If you watched the SEC this year, South Carolina did a great job beating up on the teams they were supposed to beat up on and taking care of business there, and they got a good win at Rupp against Kentucky. But, like, they got smoked by Auburn twice. They got smoked by Alabama. This was a team that was probably overseeded as a 6 coming into this tournament. And, yeah, Oregon was able to come in and steamroll them. This game was never competitive. So Oregon gets it done. Thoughts on that one?
Mm-hmm. I thought South Carolina was going to win just because, I fell into the trap of them beating Tennessee and Kentucky, and I figured they'll probably beat an 11 seed Oregon that doesn't belong in the tournament. And that's sort of how it fell, just another one. South Carolina just fell apart, not ready for the tournament, and going against Dana Altman, who has a lot of tournament experience at both Oregon and Creighton. When you get into a game like that, it's like it goes back to Tom Izzo, the game Michigan State, Mississippi State game earlier. It's a coach with a lot of experience versus a coach with decent amount, but not as much,
Yeah, that was I was pretty impressed. I expected Oregon to win. I did not know they would really get, it would be that convincing. Getting 87 on South Carolina that's impressive on a neutral court for that team. They're getting hot at the right time. They're getting healthy. Yeah, I mean, and now that sets up the Dana Altman game. Dana Altman coaching against Creighton now. So that'll be fun. And I would, I am picking Creighton. I picked Creighton beforehand, but yeah, I no surprise if Oregon somehow won that game. That's just what they do. Dana Altman's a good tournament coach. But yeah, that was impressive all the way around for Oregon. Yeah, South Carolina's just not there yet.
Yeah.
They had a good year, I think, especially relative to their expectations. They had an awesome season, but yeah, they're not there yet. They just lack go-to scoring. They're a tough defensive team, but they just, ultimately the teams that really, like Auburn just hammered them twice. That, they'll get there. I think they have the right coach now. But yeah, it's that's probably, going into the season, I think that South Carolina probably would have been happy with, first round loss with their expectations and everything. And but Oregon Creighton should be a fun game. That should be probably Creighton -3.5 or something. I don't know what that line is yet, but that should be a really good game.
All right, we will we'll move on from that one, but Oregon took care of business there.
Yeah.
This one pissed me off because I had Nevada -1. Nevada dominated this game. They fucking went on or I should say that Dayton went on a 24-2 run to close this game, which is fucking ridiculous in March Madness. Dayton 63, Nevada 60. So I was driving home from work while this game was going on. I guess I didn't read the clock right because I thought this game was almost over and Nevada was in control. Yeah. So I turned it off, put some music on, and assumed my bet hit. And then I get home and this game's still going and it's getting closer. Dayton gets to win in the end. I was pissed, but so Dayton 63, Nevada 60.
Nevada's one of the teams that pissed me off the most today because I think they had the talent and team chemistry to go decently far in March. I had them in the Sweet 16, but they just fumbled the bag, just folded. They had that game pretty much won on ice and just gave up the biggest runs I've ever seen.
I'm a big Mountain West basketball fan, and I try to push back against Mountain West is they're just cute beating up on each other. And but between Boise yesterday and then Nevada today and Colorado State today, it's just here we fucking are again. People are gonna say shit about the Mountain West, and the teams are all gonna get fucked with, which they all got fucked with seeding this year. And next year, and they're right or wrong, they're going to use this as the reasoning to do that. So that's what frustrates
I think it's Steve Alford as a coach too, because he's consistently underperformed with the talent he's had. He'll go into tournaments and fall off. That's why he got fired at Iowa, got fired at UCLA. He's had 2 rebirths. He's now at Nevada, the second Mountain West school. So it's whatever.
Yeah, that was I don't know. I can't say I'm surprised. Nevada won a lot of close games. They were in a lot of close games. That game was in Salt Lake also, so that should have been.
Yeah, that should have been a home game. Easy day.
And Dayton was extremely frustrating all year. I'm still mad at them for ruining a bid for Indiana State or somebody else because of their performance in the A-10 tournament. That was a game Nevada should have won. I picked Dayton, but that was a game Nevada definitely should have won there. Dayton hadn't beaten a team in the field until today.
Nevada should have been it doesn't fucking matter, but if you're looking at this game, Nevada should have been a 7 and Dayton should have been a 10.
Yeah, I mean and Deron Holmes for Dayton, who's head and shoulders the best player in that game, did not play well for Dayton. He didn't have a great game. They kind of limited him, and they still found a way to win. I do think Nevada Arizona would have been a really fun game, but Dayton just sometimes painfully boring, rough to watch offensively, and the fact that they could come up with a 24-2 run of any kind is shocking, just the way they play offense. Impressive for Dayton, I will say, but Nevada basically felt like they lost more than Dayton took it from them.
Which Arizona should smoke Dayton coming up next.
Well, if Arizona's playing a fast-paced game, and there's no way Dayton cannot play at that speed. I don't see a scenario where, unless Deron Holmes would have to have 30 and 20 or something. I just don't see, unless Arizona has their worst game of the season. Dayton, I don't know if they're capable of scoring with Arizona. Arizona just got to 80 points in a game today. Like Dayton, I don't know if they're capable of getting to that. So yeah, that should be a really favorable matchup for Arizona. But yeah, Nevada, rough one for the Mountain West. San Diego State clearly seems to be the only team you can trust in the Mountain West.
Well, you mentioned some bad offense there, and that's a good transition to the game we got coming up next. Because boy, this one sucked. Texas 56, Colorado State 44. This was the worst game of the day.
Yeah.
One of the worst games of the tournament we're going to see for sure. Colorado State jumps out to an 8-2 lead and then just went to fucking sleep.
Yeah. I think they must have caught a disease from Virginia. That's what I think happened.
That was ridiculous.
Words cannot describe how much I hate Texas basketball. I despise that program. I despise watching them. They do nothing well. Nothing. They do nothing well. They could not string together a stretch of 5 games of consistency the entire year.
They had a loser in conference and got a 7 seed.
Yeah, that roster is full of talent and athletes, and they could make nothing of it. Rodney Terry is pretty fortunate to have that job. Basically, still kind of coasting on what Chris Beard did there, but yeah, that I want no part of watching Texas, and I was fully ready for like Isaiah Stevens to 30-piece Texas, and that to be, big win for the Mountain West, big win for them. But no, it was the complete opposite. I don't know how to explain what that was. Like, offensively, they were terrible. Like, the execution was the worst. Like, that's probably their worst game of the season for sure. But yeah, that looks nothing like the Colorado State that played Creighton or anyone else. That was a mess. So really disappointed in them. And yeah, I mean, Texas did not play well either.
No.
And there were times that was a really, really winnable game for Colorado State if they just could put fucking anything together. But yeah, sadly, that was a tough one for Colorado State to go out on. And yep, Texas gets another game.
Texas is one of those programs, they just play poop basketball and win. Like, it's find ways to win. Like, it's why part of the reason why I honestly think they might beat Tennessee, to be completely honest.
They are better. They are a better roster than Tennessee. If you laid out both teams and you had a draft between both teams, Dalton Knecht goes first, and then the next 4 guys might be Texas players.
Probably like Therese Hunter goes second. And
I mean, it's
Obama.
Yeah. And A. Smith and Disu. Yeah, that team, they are much better, I think, on paper than Tennessee is. So they have the players to win that game. They've had the players to win most, if not all, their games for the entire season. But yeah, I despise how that team is run. I hate how they play. They just throw shit at the wall, see if it sticks, and that's basically what it is. But yeah, that being said, they match up favorably with Tennessee. But we'll see.
That's going to be a horror game to watch. Like, it's someone that lives in sort of the Tennessee basketball sphere. Like, it's just going to be the most, like, when someone that doesn't necessarily watch college basketball says it's boring, that might be the game they point to and say, yeah.
Tennessee's going to run them out of the fucking gym.
I hope they do. I want no part of watching Texas basketball any further, any more than I have to. But yeah, I don't know. So Tennessee scared me multiple points, but they should. I hope they do.
Like, this is always going to be denied, and they're going to say this isn't part of the process. But, like, they do shit like this on purpose so we can get 3 days of them talking about Rick Barnes versus Tennessee and use that to advertise this game. Like, whether they try to deny it or not, they do shit like that on purpose.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah, I'm with you. Texas stinks. They did not play well. They managed to get this game because Colorado, I was hoping Colorado State rep for the Mountain West there. I was hoping somebody rep for them. I mean, we got Utah State and San Diego State tomorrow, so we'll see. And I'm going to have to eat my words because then Auburn's going to turn around and play San Diego State if us and San Diego State take care of business tomorrow. But, yeah, I was hoping one of these teams was able to carry the flag for the Mountain West today at least and get a good win. And they did not. And, yeah, Colorado State really shit the bed here. Colorado State did their best to compete with Virginia for the worst performance from a single team this March.
Yeah.
In this game.
Really, yeah. 11 points.
They succeeded. That was worse. Yeah. That was worse.
My TV just randomly turned on by itself, so that's scary, but okay. Okay. We got Oakland 80, Kentucky 76. Oh, did you guys know Kentucky lost?
Yeah.
We've
covered it ad nauseum at this point.
Yeah. So, yeah, we don't have to revisit that one. But the Golden Bears are moving on. Which, by the way, we'll have our guaranteed double-digit seed in the Sweet 16 coming out of that pod there. Iowa State 82, South Dakota State 65.
Yeah.
Iowa State, I had Iowa State minus 15.5 in this one, and they pulled out to an early lead, 15-3. And then South Dakota State was able to come back and make this competitive for a little bit, at least in the first half. And we're down only 7 at halftime. But Iowa State Cruz took care of business here. I didn't know how the fuck South Dakota State was going to score in this game. They're not offense. Mm-hmm. And they did beat their team total in this game, which was 60. They put up 65 on the best defense in the country. But ultimately, Iowa State takes care of business here. I don't know if you guys have anything on this one.
That's the TJ Otzelberger game, man.
Yeah.
He used to coach South Dakota State, and I do think that we would be remiss if we did not mention that Sister Jean had South Dakota State in her Sweet 16. Unfortunately for her, doesn't seem like she watched much South Dakota State basketball.
You're telling me Sister Jean wasn't watching South Dakota State?
Yes, she actually wrote South Dakota on her bracket, so I didn't know if she just thought the wrong school was playing or what, but really tough one for Sister Jean, and actually kind of impressed that, Eric Anderson coaches South Dakota State. He'll get a Power 5 job in the future here, but that's about as good as South Dakota State could have done, short of winning. Just keep that game as close as you can and hope Iowa State gets stagnant. And that was probably not in the cards. So
this just came through, by the way. There are 1,825 perfect brackets remaining and 18 winless ones.
I'm closer to the winless one right now.
I want to try to fill out just an imperfect bracket one year. I want to fill it and try to pick wrong. Whoever does, if that ever happens, that's more impressive than a perfect bracket. That goes to show right there.
There was one person who was perfect till the Kentucky game in mine, or my group I'm in, one of my groups.
Yeah, so me and some of my friends actually have started to do that in the last few years, create one, and it's impossible. It can't be done. I think that is harder to do than actually having Oakland alone. Just what am I doing here? It's impossible. It can't be done.
That or Duquesne probably screw it up.
Yeah, impossible.
All right. Iowa State continues to roll. They're a tough team. They still got fucked. I mean, we can talk about seeding. We already had that discussion, but they got fucked. They're a great team. They've been a 1 seed, but here they are, the number 8 overall seed, and they took care of business against South Dakota State. Shout out to the Jackrabbits. Gonzaga 86, McNeese 65. This was a popular 12-5 upset. A lot of people were picking this one. A lot of people were drinking the Will Wade Kool-Aid. They won 31 games this year. By the way, did you guys see their non-conference schedule?
I did not.
They played like Mississippi Women's School for the Deaf or something like that.
That was kind of how I felt about Sanford's non-conference, but
hold on, let me see if I can pull this up. You guys can talk about this game a little bit. It was not competitive, but let me see if I can find this real quick because this is hilarious.
Well, sadly for McNeese, that was, I mean, McNeese was a team. I was on for large part of the season because of the Will Wade factor, and they do have some pretty good players. Two of them in particular. But aside from that, they don't have anything. Their best non-conference win was at Michigan, who was terrible. That they, ultimately just had the worst matchup they possibly could have had with Gonzaga.
Yeah, Gonzaga was a terrible matchup for them because Gonzaga has big men that can shoot, and I just think in athletic big men that can shoot, and
they just don't turn the ball over, and that's kind of McNeese's thing. And I don't know. The Gonzaga just is the worst of the 5-seeded teams to play McNeese, and great stuff by Will Wade there. Gotta say, I mean, the guy seems like a total scumbag, but he's a hell of a coach. Ultimately, just no chance. Gonzaga was
worst pick I made. That was definitely my worst pick of the day, like of anything. I'd say because I had McNeese State in the Sweet 16 just as a upset, going an upset run, but.
Real quick, so they played College of Biblical Studies, Champion Christian, LeTourneau, and Mississippi University for Women, and they beat Mississippi University for Women 92-23.
I mean that.
I mean that doesn't alarm me as much, but I mean, they were what they were, and they were a two-man team basically, and that was that was appropriate end for their season. The Southland stinks, the conference they played in. They dominated it and just beat the teams on their schedule, but that was rough. Rough one for McNeese. Will Wade almost certainly has to be gone. He's probably going to take one of these jobs that open up soon.
I think Vandy needs to go and get him. I said it the other day, but I think that would be the hire for them to get that.
I think they're hiring Chris Mack. I think Vanderbilt's going to hire Chris Mack.
Louisville.
Yeah.
Pick him up off the scrap heap. That'll do you.
One interesting thing to mention. I don't know if you saw the celebrity brackets. Theo Vaughn had McNeese State. I think he had him in the Elite Eight or something because he's from Louisiana. This is a joke. I probably just did that as a joke.
Did you see Bert Kreischer's bracket?
Yeah, I worst bracket I saw by far.
Yeah, Bert Kreischer I think he had 2 16 seeds and 2 15 seeds in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Well, Coach O probably had McNeese in the Final Four, so I wouldn't really sweat it there.
Yeah.
Okay. Tennessee 83, St. Peter's 40. Who cares?
Bad matchup. St. Peter's not really not a good team in the tournament.
St. Peter's stinks. They stunk a couple years ago when they were in the Elite Eight. They stink now. I'm glad somebody just completely blasted them. Not a fan. Not a fan of St. Peter's, and they don't deserve my time. But yes, more Dalton Connect in the NCAA tournament. What everyone wants, what everyone needs. So.
Yeah, it was a big spread coming into this one. Like, I was debating taking it, but it was never in doubt. Tennessee jumped out to a 20-5 lead early. and never turned back from that.
Yeah.
So St. Peter's, the
No
Peacock not return this year. So there will unfortunately be no more peacock noises on this show. But yeah, Tennessee rolls. NC State 80, Texas Tech 67.
Yeah, that was a surprising one for me.
Yeah, I was big on Texas Tech in this one. I was big on Texas Tech in this tournament in general. In my original bracket, I had them going to the Sweet 16. Thought about putting them. I was big on Texas Tech and what Grant McCaslin's building there, but NC State continued their momentum. Which I think the highlight of this game was that big ass white dude that they kept showing in the crowd rocking the NC State jersey.
Yeah. I watched it, and I mean, Texas Tech, they just didn't have the offensive ability to keep up with NC State. NC State just had momentum the whole game.
NC State is rolling.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed in Texas Tech. They're kind of the South Carolina of the Big 12 almost. They're in a similar situation. First-year head coach. They had a decent season for their standards, and but NC State should not be in the tournament. If Virginia just fouled up 3, as they were supposed to, they would not be in. And yet, here we go. There's more NC State, and they're probably going to go to the Sweet 16, which is crazy. But here we are. That annoys me greatly. But, they're probably going to crush Oakland.
They play Oakland.
That's right.
Yeah, they're probably going to beat the piss out of Oakland, and, they'll be inexplicably a Sweet 16 team. Between Florida and Marquette, someone's going to have what should be a good matchup for them, but we'll see.
My prediction of Marquette to the Final Four is looking better every day, every minute.
They're going to lose to Florida, but we will get to them. All right, Washington State 66, Drake 61. I had no idea who to take in this game. I was back and forth. I picked Washington State in my bracket. I ended up betting on Drake after consulting Matt. Thank you for the incorrect pick, Matt. I consulted you on one game, and you led me astray. Had to give you some shit for that. It's all good. Washington State moves on. They're a great story. What do you guys think?
They toughed it out there at the end. Drake had pretty much had the game, and Washington State just found something to push the extra mile there at the end. I chose Drake. I originally had Washington State on my bracket, and I flip-flopped because Drake – the reason I chose Drake is because of Tucker DeVries. I just figured he'd be a difference maker in March, especially with a team that hasn't been to March Madness before, and Drake had been a couple other years recently, so I figured that'd be the smart pick.
Yeah, Drake's tough. I mean, Tucker's the best player in that game. He probably would have been the best player if they played Iowa State as well. That's a tough one for Drake. They had Miami dead to rights last year in the first round. Couldn't put them away. Kind of the same story for them this year. Unfortunate for Drake. But now the Washington State story continues, and they do actually surprisingly match up pretty okay with Iowa State in the second round. They have beaten teams with that profile before, not of the talent of Iowa State necessarily, but that should be a good game. I would not be surprised if Washington State kept that close or won outright. That's disappointing for Drake, though. Disappointing for Tucker. It's really pulling for them, but they ultimately just couldn't close it out. That sucks. And they, their complementary players really played well in Arch Madness, and that's basically why they beat Indiana State. Tucker didn't have a great game, and the rest of the team kind of picked up the slack. I mean, Tucker took a shit ton of shots in this game today, and yeah, they just didn't have the gas, sadly. But yeah, Washington State, Iowa State should be a good game. I'm hoping for that, and that's a good matchup for Washington State. It's a good match for Iowa State as well, technically. But yeah, Washington State, that's a game that they should be competitive.
Yeah. Anything else on that one, Jacob?
I think that covers it. I was watching it, just sort of watching the end of it, and I didn't have much else to say.
All right, and then I guess we'll end the discussion of today's games with, the wild one we just saw as we were on here, the Samford Kansas game. Man, exactly what I told you guys, like in the group chat, kind of played out, and Kansas was able to pull it out. Where, like, Kansas just had tired legs because they don't have any depth.
Yeah.
Bill Selfman and Hunter Dickinson made an ass of themselves earlier this week talking about the McCullough stuff, I thought.
Yeah,
so
that was weird.
Yeah, I was hoping for them to get embarrassed by Samford here. They were able to hold on.
They almost did.
Yeah.
They almost did.
Samford just could not get any shots to fall in the first half, and Kansas wasn't missing anything.
Samford had really bad shot selection in the first half. They were just jacking stuff up. They weren't playing their offense. And it just was a game of like wild swings. Like you'd have Samford go on a run and Kansas would go on a run. And at the end, it was Samford, and they got hot from three, and they made I didn't realize they made 16 threes in the game.
Yeah, I actually thought Kansas was gonna walk all over Samford. Those are the teams that Kansas just kind of puts away. They traditionally play against those teams pretty well, but yeah, I mean, Samford almost got them. I mean, it's a weird spot for Kansas. I have no idea what the McCullough ship means or anything. Hunter Dickinson does not sound like he is a huge fan of Kevin McCullough. But yeah, it's a weird dynamic. I mean, ultimately, Samford, I thought going in, if they scored like 89, 90, 95 points, that would be the target number they had to get to win. So because I thought if they got to 90 or upper 80s, like maybe Kansas without McCullough, that would be enough. But yeah, Kansas, as Bill Self seems to, they find a way. But yeah, I'm not surprised by the result overall. And I think that's probably where that ends for Kansas. I don't see them beating Gonzaga anyway here. And for Samford, yeah, I'm excited to see where Bucky goes. I hope he's somewhere in the SEC. I think that would be the best place for him. But yeah, that was, most fun brand of basketball to watch all year with Samford. And
don't want SEC, keep him away.
Yeah, really. So I would have loved seeing Samford Gonzaga, but
just because we all have terrible ball handling guards and can never handle teams that press.
Yeah.
To do with them.
I wonder if he's got an inroads to the Vanderbilt job.
Yeah, that would be cool if he could go there. Vanderbilt makes no sense. They should be really good. I mean, they're right in Nashville.
Yeah.
That school should be like the Duke of the SEC. Like, so yeah, but yeah, shout out Stanford. Fun team to watch.
They had a great year.
Yeah. And that, winning that league, playing that style of basketball, that's impressive, I will say. But yeah, the weird run for Kansas continues for one more game, I think.
I think Gonzaga blows them out of the water next game.
All right.
To be honest.
Moving into tomorrow, which for the show tomorrow, Jacob, I believe you will be at the Purdue game, so I don't think
Yeah.
tomorrow night.
I maybe can join on phone. We'll see if I want to or not. We'll just play it by ear.
I'm going to a concert tomorrow night, so I will not be able to get on. But I believe William Luke said he will get on here tomorrow night. And Matt, I know you said you will, so hopefully you guys can put together a show of some sorts. Looking forward to tomorrow's matchups.
If one loses, you will never see or hear from me again. So, count me out of that if that happens.
If what happens?
If UConn loses, you will never see or hear from me again. So, if that happens, just count me out. Yeah.
I don't think the Mad Hatters are going to beat UConn, so I don't think you have anything to worry about there.
Yeah.
My TV turned off. So looking forward to tomorrow's slate. I think just scrolling through here, and you guys can jump in and say like what matchups you're looking forward to. But the nightcap tomorrow night, I think these three matchups right here are going to be the best games of the day. The James Madison, Wisconsin, TCU, Utah State, and St. Mary's, Grand Canyon. That's a great slate of games there. So I think tomorrow night, those are probably the three best games of the day. Looking through here, along with there's some good ones on here, but I think those three is definitely going to be fun.
Nebraska and Texas A&M will be a good game.
No.
Stand by that.
There should be some offensive explosions between Baylor, Colgate. That one should be a lot of points. Bama, Charleston should be a lot of points. Purdue, Grambling should be a lot of points.
Northwest AU.
Yeah.
Northwestern FAU is going to be a great game.
Yeah, so there should be some pretty high-scoring ones tomorrow. And then, of course, you get a little UAB, San Diego State, to, keep it interesting with the, mucking it up variety of games. But,
I imagine
should be some good ones.
Yale, Auburn will probably be along those lines, too.
Yeah.
If I'm UConn, I am definitely rooting for FAU because I don't want to play Boo Buie if I'm UConn, and I think he's the one guy on the floor in that FAU Northwestern game tomorrow. And if they move on and face UConn, they can take over a game and possibly be one of those March guys that's able to take out UConn by himself. I think he has that ability. I think FAU has a great team. They have a great assembly of guards, but I don't think that they have one guy that can help like that.
I mean, I think Janelle Davis can take over a game, too. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think UConn would actually much rather Northwestern. I think that, FAU is a more well-rounded team. They're experienced. They have some decent size. They have athletic guards. I don't think that I think that's one of the things that makes UConn great is that they will not get beaten by just one guy going crazy on them like Boo Buie would. They're just too good of a team. Steph Castle will take Boo Buie out of the game. So I don't think they
Northwestern.
would.
I was going to say Northwestern lacks Ty Berry too, so it's just Boo Buie at this point.
Yeah, so that should be a game that UConn is in complete control of. So, if it is Northwestern, I think UConn would rather that. FAU is a little more unpredictable, sometimes not for the better, but I think they would probably rather rather Northwestern in that one.
All right, boys. Well, I'm pretty tired, so
Yeah,
thing down. Yeah, but that Utah State TCU, that's going to be a very fun one.
I get to see that in person.
That's going to be a good one.
It'll be a good game.
Utah State being an 8 is still fucking outrageous, but we I guess. Yeah, that's fucking that Utah State.
And that's another one where Purdue will probably really be hoping for Utah State. TCU is probably not someone they want to see.
TCU reminds me a lot of like several Big Ten teams that just played like just grind basketball.
Yeah.
Where they try to force as many turnovers as possible.
Yeah.
I just heard something outside.
Hopefully it's not.
Yeah. I'll say.
That a fucking wolf? Something was like howling. What the fuck is that? Is that a coyote? Like, I didn't know we had those down here.
I am not surprised to hear you have coyotes there, but you know, who knows?
You're seeing sounds.
Yeah, maybe. That was fucking crazy. Like it howled twice. I was like, what the fuck is that? Okay, that just
hallucinating. Yeah.
Off, but I have no idea what the fuck that was. You guys see any big offsets tomorrow? I mean, James Madison, Wisconsin's the obvious one. I think everybody and their mother that one. Everybody's picking James Madison there, myself included.
I don't see many upsets tomorrow, to be completely honest.
JMU.
Other than JMU.
One. I don't consider TCU over Utah State any kind of upset.
I could see Grand Canyon over St. Mary's. That'll be
and then honestly, like after Kentucky just completely did not show up today, it gives me a little bit of there's a little hesitation in the back of my mind about Bama doing the same thing. So I wouldn't. I mean, now I'm not going to pick Charleston, but where I would have been really surprised had Charleston won going into today, I can't say I would be completely shocked because Nate Oates defensively probably won't adjust if they run into a situation that Kentucky did today. They probably will not really adjust much on defense. So, that would be the one game I would kind of keep an eye on that could go sideways there. But, everyone else, just nothing in particular jumps out to mind. I don't particularly think that, like, New Mexico beating Clemson is not an upset anymore. New Mexico being favored. So,
Just as I sit here, I've seen a lot of brackets that have Yale over Auburn. I think Yale is going to give us a run probably, but I foresee an upset there. But I'll just mention that because I've seen a decent amount of brackets picking it.
Yeah, Yale was fortunate to get in. I mean, Brown had them. Yale was lucky getting in. This is not the same, like, Mackay Mason kind of Yale teams. Yale very well could beat them. They tested themselves out of conference. But yeah, I don't see that being an upset tomorrow. I just don't see that. But who knows? It's March, and I have been quite wrong through one day alone. So go ahead, go for it. Yeah.
Far off my predictions. At least my bracket has been.
I don't think any of us have a perfect bracket left. But with that being said, I don't know. Let's call it a night, boys.
Yeah, it's been a good first day of March, and I'm ready to see some more action.
Big time.
Oh, yeah, you boys got any parting shots before I end this thing?
Hey, Kentucky, good luck. You're never allowed to talk about upsets again, man.
Yeah, I feel like a drug addict who has relapsed going back to Kentucky. I've been driving in my car to nowhere for hours because of them. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. So,
where are you? You were driving during that game too.
My friend, I'm just gonna drive until I get this game out of my mind, probably. So,
you were driving while the game was going on as well.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, couldn't sit still. Amazing stuff there. Yeah. So, hit the bed soon, and try to forget that game ever took place forever. So,
side of the road somewhere.
Yeah, probably. So, yeah.
Oh my god.
When UConn destroys Stetson, I'll feel better. So that should help.
Hell yeah. All right, boys. I will talk to you guys Saturday. I guess if the stream doesn't come together tomorrow night for whatever reason, you guys aren't able to put it together, we can jump on Saturday morning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That works better.
Yeah, we can do that as like a backup plan if we'll end up doing the one tomorrow night. But until then, we will be here the rest of the weekend, and I am looking forward to it. So thank you boys for joining me. Anybody watching, and this is March.
Yep. Y'all have a good night.
All right.